Welcome everyone. I'm going to kind of spend the next 30 minutes or so talking about selling your cloud-based solution, so crafting your cloud strategy for 2020. And before I kind of get into that, I'll introduce myself a little bit. I believe there's a Slack channel where you can post questions, so I definitely want this to be conversational. If you have any questions or anything like that, please let me know. And we'll go from there. So a little background on myself. My name is Amy Jeschke. I'm the Senior Sales Manager for Genesis, actually selling Genesis Cloud here in Indianapolis. So Genesis is headquartered out of San Francisco, but our largest office is right in our backyard here in Indianapolis, once Genesis had acquired Interactive Intelligence. Our software is designed to help businesses improve and manage their customer experience. I think as we all are consumers in our day-to-day life, we could definitely relate to the fact that how a business treats us, how we're able to interact with a business, with our with companies that we support, is more important now than ever before. So that's what our technology does, is we bring cloud-based solutions to customers to manage their CX experience across all channels. And especially in today, as we're all quarantined inside, a cloud-based solution that allows the business to stay open virtually is more important than ever. I'm from Indianapolis, born and raised. I was an IUPUI graduate. I've been in sales for the last 8 years professionally, although I would say my sales experience really started back in the days when I was a car hop at Dog and Suds and working through restaurants through college. I've always had a passion for helping people and also motivation to kind of own my own destiny when it comes to sales and being able to impact myself personally by being successful in sales and being able to kind of own my own destiny there. So that's kind of why I love being in sales. Part of the reason I do this is to help support my family and to be a good role model for my 2 daughters you see on the screen. Love going to see live music with my husband and traveling. So that's a little bit about me and kind of why I love sales and kind of why I do this. So today I want to talk about crafting your cloud selling strategy. We'll cover what's changed in the market, how you can differentiate yourself from your competition, what's important when connecting with SMB buyers, and then maybe some strategies as well on how you can really be a partner for your buyers and not just a platform. So what's changed? As most of you probably see, a lot has changed over the years when it comes to not just technology, obviously, but when it comes to how people buy. How we purchase in our personal lives has definitely bled into our professional lives. I think about when I go to make any type of purchase anymore, the first thing I do is I go online. I look, I Google, maybe if I have an idea of what I'm looking for, I'll Google to kind of see images or see things that maybe are aligned with what I'm looking for. Then I want to hear what people who have purchased it have said. I want to look at reviews. I want to do a little bit of price shopping and see, can I find the same thing for cheaper? Is it going to be the same quality? I'm doing all of this well before I even get my credit card out or I'm leaving the house to actually drive to a store if I need to. I'm doing all of that online. And that's really what our buyers in technology are doing as well. The majority of B2B purchasing decisions really start and are made online. According to a recent Forrester report, 68% of B2B buyers prefer to research independently online. They don't want to just take what the sales rep is telling them. They want to do their own research. They're going to narrow it down to a couple of vendors that they want to evaluate long before they ever go to your website or call and speak to someone in sales or request a demo. They already know a lot about you. So because of that, the way that your you're reaching out to those people looking online is going to be super important. You want to make sure that the messages that you're putting out there are going to resonate. They're going to be impactful. And above all else, you want to make sure that you're reaching millennials. And another report by Google, almost 50% of buyers doing that initial research are millennials. So they want quick, impactful statements. They don't want to have a lot of fluff or a lot of uh, generic statements of we're going to increase your revenue by 30% within the first 30 days, or things like that. Like, they want tangible evidence of how you're going, what problem you're there to solve, and how you're going to do it. You also want to make sure that the stuff that you're putting out there from marketing is easily accessible across all channels, on their phone, on their tablet, on their desktop. People don't want to just read through old white papers anymore. Videos, online demos where you can show them little quick hits, or maybe guides or tours they can take themselves online. All of that is going to help resonate with that millennial buyer. The other thing that we've seen has changed a lot in the marketplace is the decision maker, the number of decision makers have increased. Nowadays, businesses, it's not just up to the person signing the deal, and it's really only their opinion that matters. It's usually now a combination of a committee, a buyer's committee or buyer's circle, that we call that are really influencing the deal. We've seen that has climbed to over 6 people in that average buyer circle. And oftentimes what we find in sales is we may know who 2 or 3 of those individuals are, but it's our job to figure out who are the other 4 people that may be influencing that deal that we haven't talked to or we don't know yet. And as we look at that buyer circle, each person is going to be coming with a different perspective, with a different persona, and with different goals and initiatives that are going to be important to them. So we'll talk a lot about how important it is to know your audience and really understand what's most important to them, because you're often going to need to shape your conversation several times throughout that deal cycle and make sure that you're hitting each one of those people individually with a message that resonates with them, so that you can get get the whole buyer's committee influenced and rooting for your solution at the end, because it's going to be their approval that's going to guide that last key decision maker to sign the contract. And the other thing that we've seen is how crowded it is in the cloud now. Across every vertical and every market, everyone has a cloud-based solution that they're pitching, that's designed to solve problems. And most likely the features or functionalities that may differentiate each other, that gap is closing every single day. If you've got a feature that your competitors don't, they're going to have it in another month or in another week, or in the coming months. And there's going to be another competitor right behind you, looking to gain that market share and that market awareness and take your position. So it's crowded. You've got to really differentiate yourself, because to your average buyer, you're all going to look pretty much the same, and they're really only going to care about what's most important to them. And if your strength isn't going to resonate with them, then it's not going to matter. So keeping some of those key trends in mind that we've seen have changed when it comes to the way companies are purchasing, it's really important that you do more than just understand your audience. In the past, as a salesperson, you could build that rapport with the person on the other line, with that business, and tell them, like, hey, I understand why this is a pain for you. I've helped lots of other customers with that same pain. You want them to know that you really understand where they're coming from, but that's not what they're looking for anymore. They don't want to just know that you understand them. They want to know what you're going to do to fix it. And they also want to know about what problems they may not even realize they have at this time, that they could avoid having by purchasing your solution. So it's not just about solving their immediate pain and need, but it's about guiding and consulting them so that they have so that they can be in position to avoid future problems and to move to a better future state. Again, as we talked about earlier, it's really important then that you truly understand their business. You need to know how they make money, and you need to know how your solution's either going to help them make more money or save them money by maybe consolidating technology or gaining efficiencies, making things that were once a manual process more automated. Anything that can add value to the organization by either saving money or making more money is really, at the end of the day, the only reason why a company buys. So you really need to understand their business from how it operates, and then as you're getting into understanding what their needs are and what pains that they have, uh, again, guiding towards how your technology is going to solve that solution and how it's going to either make them more money or save them more money, and then also how you're going to be able to guide them away from maybe future problems that they could incur. And the biggest way to do that is to truly understand the strengths of your platform, of your product, and also your weaknesses. You need to understand your strengths, and you also need to understand what's important to that buyer. Because if one of your strengths is not important to them, then it doesn't matter. You need to focus on the strengths that you have that are going to be uniquely important to that individual buyer. And you also need to know those of your competition. Because again, to the buyer, we're all going to look the same. So, you've got to be able to guide them towards uh, what they're going to gain from you, and also making sure that you're planting those seeds, and making sure that they're asking the competition that they're evaluating at the same time, if their solution can do the same for them. So you've got to know yourself and your product better than anyone else, and then you have to really start to understand your competition in the market and know them almost as well as they know themselves. So now that you've understood maybe what is most important to your buyer and for their particular situation, and you understand how you can differentiate yourself from your competition, there's a couple of tactics and strategies that can work in making sure that you're differentiating yourself there. I know on my team, and I probably should have said in the introduction. So for my sales team, we have 17 account executives that sell mostly inside. We're doing most of our selling over webinar and phone calls. We will travel and go on site and meet people in person when need be, but nowadays, most B buyers, they don't have time for that either, especially in the SMB space. They're wearing multiple hats. They don't have time to have you come out on site and spend 2, 3 hours, 4 hours in their office. So they want to meet virtually as well. And our account executives work with a solutions consultant usually to do that first demo with our customers. And you can really win or lose in the demo. One thing that we found a lot of success in, especially in the SMB market, is making sure that we're not just having a cookie cutter demo that can be given to the next prospect, an hour later, and the next prospect after that. You really want to make sure that you're customizing the demo to be important to that buyer. That doesn't mean you have to have these, spend days creating elaborate custom demos from scratch. It's just the little things. One, making sure that you're mirroring their language. If in our world, we work with contact centers. So if they call their contact center representatives agents, then we'll call them agents. We've had customers who call them ninjas. We've had customers who, have created their own language and for their environment, and we want to mirror that as well. The other thing we want to do is make sure that we're showing their logo, showing their website. If you've got a presentation at the beginning, pull images from their website into the presentation. You want them to really see themselves in your solution. And those are just a few ways that you can be creative in that demo and really customize it. I would also say you want to lead with what is most important and impactful for that customer. And again, that may look different every time depending on the business that you're talking to. The great thing about my team as well, we work with customers across all industries. We could be talking to a hotel that's providing customer experience. We could be talking to a bank. We could be talking to a to a car dealership. We could be talking to a manufacturer. I mean, it's really across every different industry. So what's important to that business may be different each time. And we want to make sure that we're leading with the part of our solution that's going to be most impactful to them first. You don't want to save that stuff, as the best for last. You really want to hit them and get it impactful right at the beginning. That's going to keep engagement high, keep more focused and wanting to hear more. The other thing I would say is to really work on getting your demo down to under 60 minutes. Again, people are wearing a lot of hats. It's really hard to get people to commit to more than an hour meeting at a time. So especially if you're virtual, it's a long time to be sitting in front of a screen and listening to someone. So really focus on, you don't have to show every little part of your platform. Again, lead with what's most important and what's impactful. There's ways that you can share other things down the line, but getting that demo down to 60 minutes is going to be important. We also suggest having 2 voices on the demo. So again, on my team, my AEs work with their solutions consultant. And the solutions consultant is usually kind of driving the demo and hitting a lot of technical aspects of our platform and what we can do. But it's really important that we have the AE there that's gone through a really great needs analysis and really tried to pair all of their business requirements to true business impact. So as we're talking through the demo, we can again keep bringing it back to the business impact, keep bringing it back to how this feature is going to save them time, or how this feature is going to build out some efficiencies that they don't have today, or how some of the updates in our platform are going to be automatic, which is again going to give them time back into their day. Just having that second voice is really important. It's kind of like having a dance partner. There's going to be times where one person's going to lead while the other one's kind of playing more of a supportive role, and it really just helps to make sure that you're being more engaging, and also I think that you're not missing things, because sometimes one person may hear the question differently and can provide some better feedback, or actually keep the demo going on the right track. And again, just knowing your audience, knowing who's going to be on that demo, what's going to be most important to them, and not wasting time if maybe you typically go through the architecture of your platform, but on this particular demo, none of the IT folks are on, or the people that are going to care as much about that aspect are going to be on, then save that for a later date. The other thing that can really help you differentiate from your competition is if you can offer a free trial. I know not all solutions and platforms can do that, but if you're able to, you should absolutely leverage this as a strategy. We do free trials all the time on my team, and most of the time, if we engage in a free trial, we win that deal. One, you're going to be able to tell very quickly if that customer or potential buyer is really serious or not. If they're investing in the time to do the trial, and you're scheduling out working sessions in advance, and you're mapping out what they want to test during that trial, and making sure that you're putting a good plan around it and execute that well, you can help them see the value of your solution. You can, once they get their hands on it, they start playing with it. They start seeing how it's going to do, how it's going to impact their business. They start advocating for you. And again, that's another way to influence that buyer circle, because oftentimes, people that are going to be running the trial with you are going to be part of that buyer circle. So you're going to get them sticky with your solution. A lot of your competition may not be offering trials. So in our world, we have a few competitors that will do trials, but most don't like to, because setting up their platform is a lot more of a heavier lift than it is ours. It takes more resources on their end to manage that than it does on our side. So they don't want to initiate that, or kind of want to avoid it at all costs. So it's a great differentiator for us to say, hey, why don't you just try it for 30 days? Let's build out, what are some of the things that the key criteria you want to test, and let's show you that we really stand behind our value proposition. We know that it will do what we say it's going to do, and you don't have to just take our word for us. Let's try it. Oftentimes your buyer, they're afraid of making that wrong decision, because it's, at the end of the day, their job could be on the line, especially if your technology is tied to mission critical work for their business. You know, they're really scared to make the wrong choice. So a trial can again give them that comfort in knowing that they're selecting the best solution for their business, and are able to then advocate that up to the rest of their group. Connecting with SMB buyers, we'll kind of cover that next. So with your SMB buyers, it's really important that you're not just selling your solution. You really have to sell yourself. You know, these buyers are the ones that are most impacted by the technology that they're bringing in. You know, they're the ones that are going to be managing the system. They're the ones whose job's going to be directly impacted by it. And oftentimes even their personal life could be impacted by it. And at the end of the day, people want to do business with people they like. So as throughout the sales cycle, you know, how you interact with your potential buyers is important. Are you getting back to them in a timely manner? Are you going above and beyond? Are you being creative through that deal cycle? And are you being consultative? Are you bringing them value? Are you educating them along the way? You know, those are the things that they're going to look for, because they know that once they sign, you're who they're going to be stuck with as well. So if they want it to be a good relationship, because you know you're not going to go anywhere. They're still going to be looking for that partnership long term. I know in one particular deal we had, uh, you know, we're talking to the IT director who has to come in, you know, one Saturday a month to do updates on their premise-based uh, solution they had in place at the time. You know, that's that individual coming in every Saturday, leaving, you know, missing time with their family, missing soccer games with their kids, things like that. So, you know, we're able to talk about how our solution has automatic updates that they won't have to come in on Saturday anymore. You know, we will roll that out each week automatically, and it won't require any time or effort on their end. You know, that's something that somebody can take as a not only an impact to their business, but also a personal impact. So really understanding your buyers in this space and the hats that they're wearing, and what may impact them the most through your solution is going to be really important. I would also say making sure that you're really building on an ROI for SMB is also going to be very important, because you know they do have limited budget. Every cost matter, or every decision matters when it comes to cost. So if you haven't started to talk about ROI, if you're not getting figures where you can help show them the ROI that they'll receive, you know, those are things that I see stall deals a lot as well. And lastly, we'll talk a little bit about what that means to be a partner and not just a platform. Um, as I talked about before, in my industry, we have a ton of cloud-based competitors for contact center. And to the buyers, we probably all look very similar. You know, we all do to them omni-channel. We all have reporting. We all have you know, similar UI. You know, when it comes to feature and functionality, we probably all look the same. But one thing that we try to really stand out is how we will be a partner for them beyond choosing the technology. We have lots of sites for our customers to be able to self-service, to see how they can continue to leverage the system. We have a resource center where they can look up and find instructions on doing more with the platform as they continue to build out their customer experience. We have a public-facing status page where we show all of our uptime. We have a community forum where they can talk to other customers. You know, those are things beyond just feature and functionality that we want to point out to our customers throughout the buying cycle to show that, you know, we aren't just a platform for them. We really truly want to be a partner. And if you can take that similar approach with the resources that you have and with your solution, it really makes a big difference. You know, you really have to be taking that customer-centric approach from the very beginning, when they're first coming through your funnel all the way to post-contract execution, and how you're going to set them up for success long after they've signed. A couple ways to do that is, one, it's really important that you just deliver on the expectations that you set and not overpromise things that you can't deliver on. That's where most frustration starts, and especially when a customer is signed, making sure that you've set that right expectation all along the way. Another thing we really try to do on my team is to learn from our wins and our losses. So really doing a great job with internal collaboration. We're regularly reviewing deals together, talking about things that we learned. We have internal communication channels where we're always asking quick questions and anybody can jump in and answer. We review calls together. We listen to each other's calls. Those little things to make sure that as a team that we're setting best practices and we're sharing that knowledge so that we can all get better, and that we can all learn from our wins and from our losses. That's why I kind of have on here, deals are usually not won by one person. It's very much a team approach, whether it's your account executives, your sales manager, marketing, product, legal, finance, solutions consultants. There's typically a whole lot of people who've touched that customer before they've signed, and there's going to be a whole lot of people that are going to touch that customer after they sign when it comes to implementing them and getting them set up for success long term. So you really want to make sure that you've got processes in place that set that customer up for success, and that all the great knowledge that you've learned from them from the very beginning follows them throughout this cycle, so they're not continuously having to repeat themselves as they go from maybe the account executive to customer success, and so on and so forth. So just some of the key things to keep in mind as you're crafting your cloud selling strategy for 2020 is, one, buyers are doing their homework. They're going online, they're researching long before they ever talk to you or request a demo. So you want to make sure that you're putting good content out that's going to be relevant and focused on the problems that your platform is there to solve. You really need to understand how you're going to impact their business financially. So really having a deep understanding of how they make money, and where maybe you can build out some efficiencies and either help them create more revenue or save money by consolidating technology or saving time. It's really important to make sure that you're identifying who that larger buyer committee is, and that you're building consensus throughout that buyer committee, and really connecting with the 6 to 8 people who are likely involved in that decision. And again, like I said, a lot of times you may only know 3 or have talked to a few that have been on the calls. So it's really your job to understand who are those other people behind the scenes that are likely involved in this decision and are going to need, I'm going to need their buy-in to get this across the line. So knowing that audience and knowing what may be important to them, and then highlighting that throughout your deal cycle is going to be very important. Be creative. Again, it's just the little things, whether it's being more creative in the demo, customizing that, using their language, using their logo, using their images, to even just your communication with them. There's oftentimes on my team where instead of maybe trying to schedule a call or create a really long, lengthy email, maybe we create a quick video just to update them on, maybe something that was asked in a previous meeting, and we'll create, a nice little video or a vision clip to show them something from the product. Little things like that along the way will help you be creative, and it ultimately helps you stand out on top of also allowing your technology to stand out. Make sure that you're setting the right expectations, and that may mean it's not always what your customer or your buyer wants to hear, but as long as you're setting the right expectation and giving and then delivering on that expectation, then they will always appreciate that more than just you telling them what they wanted to hear, and then not being able to execute on that. And again, just really trying to take more of a customer-centric approach so that you can set your customer up for success well beyond signatures. Our goal with our customers is that they're more excited on the day of go live than they were the day that they signed the contract. Because again, we've tried to keep all that relevant information that we learned throughout the sales cycle and follow them throughout as they worked with PS and implementation, as they worked with customer success, so that they just continue to feel heard and understood and understand what they're going to gain from your solution, and that they're excited to see what the future holds with you. So that is what I have today for crafting your cloud selling strategy. Definitely can stick around if there are any questions. Would love to answer those, or anything that we didn't talk about. I will be available for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. This is so great. I'm so glad that Linda was able to connect us and get you to be a part of Indy Cloud Conf. I have a question myself, but I'm going to open it up to the chat to see if anyone else has any question before I kind of step in and ask any of my questions. So if anyone wants to just throw a question over there in the hardware IoT channel, or here in the Zoom chat, we can wait for a second and see if anything pops up.
Great.
Now we do the awkward waiting game where people are typing or not. Well, while people are typing, I'll ask one of my questions. So you said that there's about 6.8, I believe is the number you said, about people involved in the buying process, and the decision makers there. And there's one thing to be said about, identifying the type of role or, job title or whatever it may be. But I think it's another thing to ask about, like, what kind of characteristics do these types of people have? Like, are they tinkerers? Like what do those people kind of look like outside of, a role or a job title?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one, understanding, obviously based on job title, you're going to start to understand what may be important to them, and asking them and validating that information. But you make a good point. People's personalities are different too. So you've got to quickly gauge, is the person that you're talking to, sometimes you're dealing with someone who's very in-depth, very analytical. They need to see things really spelt out for them, while other people are maybe a little bit more emotional thinkers. They don't want to dig into the details as much on, like, from the logistics standpoint. They just want to really see how it's going to impact them or their business, and want to be engaged in that way. So I think you're right when you talk about, like, personality matters, and how they process information matters, because you're going to need to change your approach for those different types of personalities, and just how you're communicating with them, and how you're laying out the information in a way that they can easily digest. I think is important too. And I'd also just say, I think depending on what your technology is that you're selling, like, for instance, we're selling, I sell contact center technology and software. So, if you've not worked in a contact center before, you may have an idea of what's important to those individuals, but how do you really know? And I think if you ever have an ability to shadow, having your sales team shadow maybe some of your current customers, like living a day in the life, or trying to do their job for a week or something, just to using your technology, like, the more they can truly understand what's going to be important to that person, because they've got some real tangible experience, is always going to resonate very well as well.